You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Welcome back to I Am Refocused Radio. Once again, we are here today. We have another show lineup for y'all today. We have our special guest, Dan Curran. He is the founder of Chapters.io, and he is a serial entrepreneur. He knows a little bit about business, and we're going to share his knowledge on this show. He is a leading voice and an expert person that is going to help you in amazing work with publishing. We know artificial intelligence is one of the hottest things right now, but this guy really knows what he's doing with his work. We're going to learn everything about what he's doing to reimagine traditional publishing process with entrepreneurs and experts that are emerging voices in their own knowledge. And he's helping them make that knowledge turn into influential books. And today we're going to learn about all the process of what he's doing to disrupt the publishing world. Without further ado, I want to say thanks for clearing your calendar to be on the show today. How you doing, Dan?
Doing very well. It's such an honor to speak with you. Looking forward to it.
Thank you for being on. When you think about how you started Chapters.io, what were you seeing with technology being one of the hottest? I feel like we always are talking about technology on the show now. AI is everywhere. How did you see the opportunity to say, you know what, I can make this useful for everybody?
Yeah, so let's go back to November of 2022 when we all heard of something called ChatGPT that OpenAI launched. For a decade before, I had been interviewing and in the editorial business. And when you interview subject matter experts, when you interview your mom, when you interview a scientist, doctor, anybody, you, me, if we get people to talk, we really don't need ChatGPT to do the writing. And that was my thought, is that why everyone then and now is worried about AI replacing writers and replacing all of us, I guess. If we just talk and share our wisdom, I thought, wow, what if I use AI just to organize, to capture, to fix redundancies, repeating ourselves, stuttering? What if I just used it that way? And so we went to work, and we've now done well over 100 authors, and we expect to do 100 more in the next year or so, and a whole lot more, actually. And so we use AI in a good way. We use it just to capture and to provide provenance, to hold on to wisdom. So we believe that everyone should capture their intellectual property, which is their thoughts and lived experiences. So this isn't just your neighborhood bookstore, rationale. This is for everyone should be protecting their IP. And I can talk about that in a little bit more. And one of the outputs would be a book, so anything you say, write, any podcast you're on, any blog you're writing, social media post, just remember it's kind of just going out there. But what if you grabbed all that, threw it to chapters, and we could turn it into a book, and we can also just protect it so AI doesn't steal from it. So that's what we do. So at the end of the day, we help people write books, but we're doing a lot more.
When you look at how a lot of authors out there struggle with finishing a book, let alone starting one, when you look at the process that you help develop your clients, kind of paint the picture for us. What does it look like on day one when we talk to you, and what does the process look like when they're trying to get it all together?
That you just said the most important thing, and that's abandonment of the book. I see some stats out there. It's 50-60% of everyone that sits down to write a book, they don't finish it, and it's probably higher, right? I've even faced that back in the day. So it's just technology. Even if you don't use chapters, there's just you have you're holding it in your hand, your phone, and just recording those thoughts. And those thoughts is what the world needs. They need your wisdom, unique life experiences, and the grammar and the editing, that 10th grade English, hard work that, there's a lot of people that do that. And you can, either a neighbor, a friend, or, you can go online and find people pretty inexpensive that'll help you edit. So I would I don't know, the world just needs more stories and more wisdom. And so I don't have a magic wand, but, to get people across the finish line. But how we do it is that we record. And we also gather if they have existing content. Like I said, they're on podcasts. We're saying throw those files, those recordings our way, and we'll grab your voice, your wisdom that you spoke. So it is easier, but at the end of the day, I guess it's like exercising or losing weight. You can only do so much to get people across the finish line, but it is easier now.
Once again, listen to Refocused Radio and watch us online and talking to our guest today, Dan Curran. He is the founder of chapters.io. My next question for you is, how do you keep up with the rapid change that we are seeing with AI? It seems like every month there's always some new update. There's always another way to use the models out there that are available. How are you keeping up with the rapid change, and how is it helping you as you see it develop in front of your eyes like all of us?
Again, we can all feel that way. I think even the experts will say this is different. Software, coding, what we've all seen or heard of or done in the last 20 or 30 years was, I don't know if linear, but you just kind of built, like Legos built stacked on top of something. That's traditional development. AI is totally different. It just grows. And it's really 4 or 5 companies for most of us that we're dealing with, right? Anthropic and OpenAI. So, most of us tend to focus on, one or two of those tools, large language models. And then some of us, maybe their work doesn't require it. And so they're just maybe have written a birthday card or something. I would say even if you're writing, a birthday wish to someone, or you are much more advanced in using AI, the more niche you get, what are your particular issues you're dealing with in your industry, what other people are dealing with. God bless social media. It's really awful and really good at the same time. So there are a lot of people that pontificate, but there are some really wise people out there that you can follow and look for those voices that are pretty much not overselling it and not declaring that they're the expert. They're just sharing their experiences. So I think you just have to lean into it. Anyone that's totally on the outside, hasn't really experimented, you're not late. We're all early to this game. So I just try to stay relevant. I have clients, I want to speak intelligently to them, but I'm no smarter than anyone else out there. You just have to lean into it and some trial and error. But I think there's a lot of good efficiencies from AI, but it didn't come with any instruction manual, and it's kind of not an instructional manual now because it comes out so fast. But I think if you just play around with it, you can find some use cases in your life that can help. We saw an opportunity that people thought, it's terrible for plagiarism, and so do we. But there's a lot of other good ways you can use it. So
when you hear people always expressing their concerns about keeping that human touch while using these technologies, what do you do with your clients as far as how they should use your product and your services versus also remaining in control with that human touch?
So I'll answer it just in general, and then with our company, again, if you're a prolific writer and you have the fine motor skills and patience, then keep doing that. Just keep doing that. And even those people have found that they can put it in ChatGPT and give it, really tough instructions, not to change anything, but to do a grammar check. But at the end of the day, the real X factor, doing this particular manuscript writing over the last couple of years, the real X factor, the real magic is the human editor in it. They're just so important. So if you are writing a book, an editor, just besides the grammar and proofreading, AI is not going to ask you, if you say, hey, I walked into a room and I hugged my grandmother, it's generally not going to say, well, how did it feel when you hugged your grandmother, and why did you cry, or what? There's just that real vulnerable aspect. So always having a human in the loop. So and then specifically for us, we interview. We spend about 10 to 12 weeks interviewing the person. And we then turn that into an outline, and then we start with an outline, and then we just iterate over those next 12 weeks. So again, if you can write a book, then probably don't need chapters. But if you have ideas and wisdom and thoughts that you want to express, then I urge you just to record them, and then you can turn those into text files. But we make that a lot easier. So all you have to do is talk.
For our viewers and our listeners, just kind of give your insight. What are some ways that you can distinguish between meaningful AI assistant writing versus automated content that's just generated, and they call it AI slop, if I dare say that?
Yeah. Well, I think there was slop before AI slop. So we just live in a world that just has so much content, and that's just going to be, again, I'll pontificate a second. I think that's just we're just going to all, as a society, have to police ourselves. And, there's companies out there, and there's platforms that, like even Facebook and Instagram on visuals and video, they'll put AI generated, but we're all busy. Are we really even paying attention? And then halfway through, we're like, geez, this is not real human. It's kind of the same thing with writing. You dig into something and you start seeing kind of a certain AI writing style. So I don't have an answer for that. I think we had slop before, we have slop now. I think there's a lot of wise people out there that have something interesting to say that AI would never create, and that's what makes the human experience so wonderful. So as far as it's almost like journalism and the news and so forth. You just gravitate towards people that, unfortunately, confirmation bias, to wherever you are. But I think we all know what wise people or interesting people sound like when we see it. So that's what we try to advocate and be a bit ambassadors, or Pollyanna, I guess is the term. We're kind of glass half full. There's a lot of slop, but you and I can't do anything about it, but we can, share great stories from great people.
And the reason I go there is because, I'm a fan of AI. I think it's actually useful. It's very, it's like delegating to a whole team. It just depends how you're using it. And I see how some people, they're so concerned about the human experience, and, are we leaning too heavily on depending on this technology? Are we zombies and we don't have a brain anymore? We just repeat whatever it spits out towards us. I understand that part. But I think what is overlooked a lot is the creative assistance it gives. Yeah. You literally can put your rough draft idea, and then you can have a conversation with this tool that you're using, and you can keep refining it until it actually goes in the direction that you're comfortable of it going, versus, like I said earlier, a lot of people are so concerned about just whatever it puts out, we hit publish. And that's not the case with people like you.
Yeah, the market will tell you, right? It's like a radio show or something. People are going to like it or not like it, so, but I just would hate that people wouldn't hesitate. Everything you said spot on. You just need to lean into it. It is what it is. And I forgot who said it, but they said it's like nuclear energy, nuclear power. It's like 99% is great, 1% is terrible, and 1% is really, really terrible. And there is that part of AI, but 99%, we're not even, like they also say, we're not even using all the functions. If AI never got it better than what it is today, we still have a decade to catch up to use AI efficiently. So I would just, again, be a bit half glass full. The AI slop kind of just, it is what it is, but do not hesitate to use your phone to record yourself, or use it, like you said, to start thoughts. And you can ask it, just any of these programs, hey, ask me 10 questions about the paragraph that I just wrote. It's in your brain. It's just getting it out of your brain where, it's just, everyone's interesting. There's something interesting about everyone. You just got to get it out.
It makes me think about when Photoshop was getting popular. Early days, I mean, I'm not trying to step on toes, but I remember when people were saying, oh, that's cheating. How can you call yourself a photographer and you can Photoshop this and edit that and use the curves tool and all that stuff, learn about histograms. And here we are again. We're just flipping the page to another technology. And it's like, do you like watching DVDs? Do you like VHS tapes? Do you like, streaming on demand? So I feel like here we go again. We are debating something that is kind of comical in long term, because if we look back, I think you would see those who use it as a tool and responsibly to further innovation, and then unfortunately, you might find those who heavily depend on it, and I don't think they're doing much creative work anyway to begin with.
Right. Yeah, I 100% agree. And I take LinkedIn for example. If you go through the feed of LinkedIn, there's really not much engagement because there's so much content. There's not many thumbs up or comments. And generally people that do have a lot of comments, they're being very vulnerable about whatever they're talking, they have an interesting something to share, but nonetheless, that feed is getting more AI. And I guarantee you, or I believe that LinkedIn will figure that out and say, okay, we need to be more real. This is not working. So, these people want to make money, and the more AI that's in it, they'll probably be like, this isn't probably a good way to make money. And so you'll be surprised the byproduct of how people will innovate, around that. So I think we're just in an awkward teenage year phase right now, and it'll be, what's the term, ubiquitous 10 years from now. Like the calculator, I use your example too, Photoshop. I don't hear anyone complaining about Photoshop anymore, but I'm sure
they love it.
I'm sure like 20 years ago, the old art directors, the Mad Men era people 30 years ago were like, not too happy about it, but that probably lasted a minute.
And it's funny because when you think about what it cost back then to now is a monthly bill. I mean, it's interesting how time flies by and things change, and people they slide down the loud train and everything seems to calm down. So I think by next year, 2027, everyone is going to hop on the train again. I feel like there's a lot of stuff I watch on LinkedIn, since you mentioned LinkedIn, of a ton of AI companies doing some very innovative things. And it's like, oh, wow, like they're starting to focus on specifics, just like you are with publishers. You're focusing on a need. You're not trying to eat the whole pie. You're trying to focus on that one piece that can really help, in your case, people publish books, and especially those who may never have published one before. Your process is giving them the tools to make that happen. Yeah, and there's a byproduct. We actually have another product we're launching called the Living Library, and here's another benefit of what we do. If we were writing your book and we got to like 50,000 words, but if I took all the, that'd be a nice book, it'd be a great book. If I took all the radio interviews you did and maybe some articles you wrote, we might have 500,000 words. So we're saying, hey, get it into a library, and that's what we're creating, this Living Library. Put it in there and make sure that you get paid by the large language models, by AI companies downstream. So we started out doing these books. We still do them and we love them, but we have an offshoot is what we found is Bill or Mary has a wonderful book, but they have 1 million other words that just weren't right for that book, but it's really good content. Probably a pretty good idea. So it's at the end of the day, the term is IP. It's a book, that's one output, but so is a radio show and so is a blog. It's just that, you're opening the aperture. It's just one area where it's going. And someone might see this interview that we're doing, but they might read about it in a blurb somewhere and they never get here. So anyway, they got the content, you went to where they are rather than forcing them to come to where you are. And so, sorry to use this inside baseball term, but it's called atomization. So you have all this 500,000 words or millions words. It can easily be broken up by AI.
still you, 100% you, different context sometimes where it goes. But it'll be funny. We'll seem like dinosaurs talking about this 5 years from now. It'll evolve further.
Man, do I dare say that they even mentioned, I don't know, what do you call those Walkmans? Yeah. Those 8 tracks. I mean, man, I definitely was into 8 tracks, but it's like technology. I mean, I remember when you think about like film, right? There was a time where they just like had this thing that they spun around. They just had pictures and they spun it, and that was like some frame animation going on there. And now you literally can shoot a whole movie with your smartphone device.
Yeah.
I mean, times I feel is always going to change, but is the person that is utilizing the actual technology in the moment. And I know we're wrapping up, but one last thought is when you're speaking to leaders and businesses and entrepreneurs who've never written a book before, they might be nervous. What's the reaction when they see the final product, and what's some advantages that they have when they start to market the final product of the published book?
So 2 parts to that. I'll talk about just how they feel, and I don't think it's just for me. It's for probably any publisher. It is not 99%. It's 100%. Pride in what you do. So it's like buying your first house or having your first child or get married. It's a big event, because obviously it took decades of living for you to share whatever you're sharing, even if it's a sales book or it's a book on persistence or whatever. And to be able to get it out of your brain easily and see it there. Everyone has an editor, and you should use an editor. So you're an author. That day you call yourself an author, whether you sold 5 copies or 5 million copies. And then the second part, I forgot what it was. I'm sorry about the. Anyway, I'm sorry, I forgot the second part. But anyway, it's just never been easier, and people feel good. And then as far as, it wasn't exactly your question, but as far as you're kind of at the halfway point after the book's written, then you got to publish it and market it. And you can do it yourself, or you can hire people, publishing companies, to do it. And we can help both authors point in that direction. And everything costs money, but if you're a DIY person, you can do it yourself. It's called self-publishing. But nonetheless, nothing happens until you write the book. So just focus on that. That other stuff will take care of itself.
Yeah, you answered that perfectly, because I was asking about the marketing piece as well, and how they feel when it's out there. People is so exciting to be in these times. And I know people are like, wait, why is he saying that? You watch the news lately? Well, yeah, there's some other things that are going on too, but I think we forget about maximizing the moment. I mean, I had plenty of people on the show who talk about that, right? Be in the moment, stay locked in and what you're trying to develop, and stop looking at all the screens and distractions around you, because you almost become an echo chamber of this negative space and energy of everyone talking about, oh, do you watch the news? And I'm like, well, what are you doing with your time? Because that matters as well. It's not just all the other negative distractions that you might find. Yeah,
I have a book. I'm about finished with it, and it's one of the reasons why I started this company. So it's been a couple of years, so I'm now focusing on me a little bit. But how it all started is, I just gave myself 15 minutes every morning and maybe 20 minutes in the afternoon, and I just stopped the world. And like you said, all the noise and nonsense that's going around. Hey, it's just, if you free yourself, and it might be tough, there's a lot of trauma we've all gone through, some people, and, get that out. So it's very, very therapeutic, and just, it's just, I think we need everyone to share their story. We spent the 90s getting the genome project, right? DNA, how all our DNA, well, why don't we do that for human stories, right? Like, let's get them all out there, and it'll be important to one person. Again, whether it's one person or a million people, someone will benefit from you sharing your wisdom. So.
Once again, let's I Am Refocused Radio and watching this online, talking to our guest today, Dan Curran, founder of chapters.io. My last question for you is, we all know, most of us know, I have to always make a disclaimer, it's not always absolute, most of us know how powerful stories are. And keeping that in mind, how do you see your company expanding over the years in the future with the understanding that technology is going to keep advancing at probably speed of light? What excites you about the future of what's possible?
So it's what I mentioned before. So background as an entrepreneur, you're always, sorry for my wife and spouses out there, but, you're always living on the edge of just, you're rich and poor. You kind of live in this constant state of just kind of anxiety, but we love it. And as we were going through our manuscript process, and we still want to do those, we found what I said, that all this IP, that people have more than they think. So that's what we're going to spend the next couple of years on. And so our kind of, internal tagline is we want to protect, empower the next million thought leaders. And how I'll wrap this up is that it's basically been stolen. All this, everything you're using on ChatGPT, there's been some lawsuit. Actually, one just came out, but not much. Most of it is stolen from Reddit and just great. Now we're moving into a phase of licensing. So the free is kind of over. So, if I'll go quick, if ChatGPT talks about heart disease or liver cancer, they're going to want to start. And they're going to those specialists, and they're figuring out deals for the National Association of Oncologists or something. So we're now getting into this licensing, and not everything's that technical, but and so that's what we want to do. We want to be the safe harbor, the library vault for everyone's IP. So that's how we're going to spend our time in the coming months, and it'll be a subscription, like $50 a year or something like that. Put it in the vault. Any thought you have at conception, put it in there. So, even for pride, I said it on this date. I came up with this sales program, or I came up with this radio show. Get it in there, and the words provenance, get chain of custody. I said it on this day. So that's going to be exciting. So again, it'll be, and then someone will pick the baton up for me in 5 or 10 years and do something even better.
Once again, let's I Am Refocused Radio and watching this online, talking to our guest today, Dan Curran, founder of chapters.io. Like always, want to say to you, thank you for your time.
Grateful. Thank you.